Hey, y'all, it's your legal bestie, Attorney Simone, and this is another episode of Girl, Is That Legal? And we have a special guest today. But before I bring her up, I just wanted to remind you guys that, here we go. Ooh, what is wrong with this? That you can always go to my website, which is simoneredwine.com, and there you can get my ebook, Background Checks 101, the beginner's guide to who the heck you're really dealing with. And then also right under my name there, if you go right there, I don't know why this is so small, then you can, that's why it's so small. So right here under order of the book, you can sign up for my new webinar. I have a webinar that's called It's Not Too Late, How to Start Law School as a Grown Busy Adult. It's going to be a free webinar, May the 14th. Go ahead, click the link at simoneredwine.com to sign up. I'm rolling out a coaching program where I hold your hand. Basically, we'll have weekly sessions virtually where I walk you through the process of not only getting in, but also financing law school. So if you've ever thought about law school, you definitely want to attend. And it's also open for, students who maybe you've already graduated undergrad and maybe they're just 1 or 2 years out of school. So, all right, I am excited to bring up my girl to the stage. There
Hi.
we go. Vanessa with Reality Recap Podcast. How you doing, girl?
I'm good. How are you, my favorite attorney?
Thank you, girl. This week has been keeping me busy for sure.
Always busy, girl.
I
You
lost my
always
voice.
enjoying life. I love
And then
it.
it's coming back. Yeah, and then it's like one thing on top of another. So it's the Diddy trial, and then it was Basketball Wives. Have you recapped this week's episode yet?
I did. I recapped it yesterday. It's on my YouTube channel. And I had a question for you on that. When Mr. Christian Walden Gold said that someone submitted his picture to the parole officer. Was it you?
No, girl. No, I didn't. I just assumed that he wasn't stupid enough to leave the country without getting permission. I was like, certainly he got permission. He ain't that dumb. And lo and behold, apparently I gave that man too much credit because he certainly was stupid enough. Because his bunkmate was Louis from Love After Lockup.
Right.
And Louis, I saw that Louis and Melissa, his girlfriend, had like gone to Cancun or something. So I was like, okay, I guess either he's far enough along or with this process or he got permission. Lo and behold, no, that man is above the law. So we finna see.
Yeah.
We're finna see because I received some proof today that he was using his joint bank account with Jennifer to take money from these victims and steal these people's money. So it's this the Jen and CG bank accounts and stuff that he has. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit on my recap, just how uncomfortable it's making me watching them in the Rose voice and her talking about chomping on 30-carat rings while there are people out here that are watching them live off of their money and him saying, oh, $1,500. We spend that on dinner. And I was saying 1,500 here, 3,000 here, 6,000 here. It adds up. So
it really does.
And it's making me nervous for her.
And Evelyn was right that Jen doesn't have a lot of street smarts because if my man can afford this Rolls Royce, can afford these things, the question is, then how come his own lawyer filed a motion to withdraw for non-payment? If there was anything, you remember last summer, a few months ago, actually, his lawyer withdrew from the case because he hadn't paid the lawyer. And I think it was, I'm not exactly sure how much it was, but it was definitely like under $5,000. It was a minimal amount that was due. I know because I know how much it costs for that kind of thing.
Well, he already wasn't paying the restitution that was under that. So
true. Yeah, the 12,000. So how you got all this money, but you can't pay your 12,000, which I believe to this day, Jen really believes was a 6-figure restitution, which I think she thinks it was higher because I believe that she gave him a considerable amount of money for what she thought he was going to pay as restitution. But There's more to come definitely on them.
Well,
More
I'm
to come.
suited for it. But when he said that, I said, let me find out, attorney Simone.
You know what? I was thinking to myself, who do I know who would have done that? I think it was probably Alteria, one of his victims. She's so sick of his butt. It was probably Alteria because
I
that
remember
woman
her.
put on the gas because she was one of the ones. She was so upset because he took her money and had told her, I think she invested 4,000 and he flipped it to like 10,000 or something. So her husband was able to take her on a vacation and she's a definite leader. And so then she brought in a bunch of her friends and then he got no returns for anyone. So I'll be doing a breakdown later this week on how the scam works with actual clips of him scamming. Because in this week's episode on Basketball Wives, Jennifer made statements about how, oh, there's always risk. You're never guaranteed with investing. Totally true. It's totally true.
Mhm.
But the difference is, you mean not one person of 246 people made any profit at all during the entire time because you guaranteed
Exactly.
profits. So the problem is one, you guaranteed profits. And then second, when your clients ask for documentation that their money was invested, he's provided none because he didn't. He didn't invest their money. We don't know what he did with it. I personally believe that he likely used it to funnel her lifestyle because that's
Mhm.
how Ponzi schemes work. But there's no investor out here in the universe of investors where they can take all your money and don't have to provide you any documentation. I get an
Yeah.
email every night from E-Trade for each one of my accounts telling me
I
how it
do for
did.
my daughter's accounts, yes.
There you go.
Mhm.
And he can't do that. He would give some people a screenshot
From Cash
of a
App?
chart or something. Yeah, a screenshot of something. But that doesn't individualize or tell somebody how is their individual money doing. So enough about that.
Yes.
We're here today to talk about Real Housewives of Atlanta, Drew and Ralph's divorce. And Vanessa, I'm gonna let you set it up because that's your show.
Yeah, so let's just talk a little bit really quickly about what we do know from the show, right? So on the show, they're going through a divorce. They have a current order, a restraining order, it seems like, in place, but they have an order where Ralph is occupying the basement of the home and Drew is not allowed to go down there. She has to leave the house on, I believe, 2 weekends out of the month. She has to leave the house so he has free reign of the house during that time. Um, Also, there's been a lot of bickering about finances. Drew has a lawyer who has made allegations that Ralph is not providing any financial documents of, his finances. There's been talk about he's recorded her, followed her, monitoring her every move. And in the recent episode, what really got me interested in this was they went back to court and they were saying Ralph had a third lawyer, but this lawyer seems like a pit bull. Like she said, it's a money grab. And when I read this document, this very lengthy document,
Yes.
it definitely seemed like, oh, this lady is not playing.
Yes.
And, she talked in that they also talked about their documents being sealed, and Drew mentioned how she wanted to keep them sealed for the children, that there were things in there that would hurt Ralph's reputation. I personally believe that she cried when the motion was made to unseal him because there's stuff in there about her too, and that's what Ralph said. But that's what we've seen on the show so far about the
Mhm.
divorce.
Yeah.
And he says that he pays for everything. The house belongs to him. We even saw in the mid-season trailer that he locked her out of the house. And so that's more to come,
Why
but
did he lock
that's
her
what we
out?
know.
What did she do? Or maybe it wasn't her weekend.
He's saying like it's his home, like he's trying to solely take the home, saying it's his, he pays for it, she pays no bills, she won't even pay the exterminator bill, is what he's saying. And I think I saw that in
That's
the
true.
document.
Yes. You know what? That would be a perfect place to start. So, with many divorces, I have some friends going through divorce now. Many people are unaware that in a divorce, you can't force your spouse out of the house, even if they're not paying a dime. I have a friend. He pays all the bills, and she drives him crazy. and complains all the time. And he's like, well, she needs to just leave. The courts don't do that because it's community property. So the
Mm.
only way you can get your spouse out is if there's some form of domestic violence, which is why you'll see couples like Croy and Kim Zolciak, who were calling the cops on each
Mhm.
other every week because they were hoping that maybe the cops would take one of them away, take the other one away for domestic violence, and then they would be forced to get their own apartment.
Mm.
But starting with that, there have been jokes about Ralph being down in the basement and this and that. But sure enough, here is the court order. This is the temporary orders, and it says for the marital home, it says respondent. That's Ralph. It says Ralph shall move his personal effects to the basement within the next 10 days. Ralph shall have temporary exclusive use and possession of the basement. And it says, not with foregoing that, if the minor children ask to go downstairs to see their daddy, neither the petitioner, meaning Drew or anybody else, can stop her. And that Drew shall move her glam room upstairs within the next 10 days. Mm.
So she made his office the glam room that was up there. And if I'm being honest, this is not a shabby basement, Simone. Like this
Right.
basement is dope. Like he has a podcast, he did a tour, like he has a movie theater, his own kitchen down there, his own
Yep.
entrance. Like
Own entrance. Yep.
I
That's what
said,
I was
who
saying.
won?
Yep, I have it's its own apartment. And then I also found it interesting that they have the custody arrangement lower on that same page. And it says Drew shall vacate the marital home on the first, third, and fifth weekend of every month by
Mhm.
3:30 p.m. on Friday until the following Monday, 8 a.m. So those are Ralph's weekends. Basically, when it's Ralph's weekend, she got to get up out of there, go get her a man or a woman or whoever she liked that weekend.
I was
And then,
wondering where's she going? It seems like that's more money spent that she was going to leave him with her sister in one of the episodes. Like they talked about taking bathing suits in case they wanted to get in the pool. I don't know if she's Airbnb or if she's getting hotels. And I said, where's Ralph going? Probably to Tampa.
right. And it says the same thing when it's her weekend with the kids. Ralph has to take his talents elsewhere, get up out the house on Friday, and he can't come back till Monday. But that's unusual, y'all. That's not normal. Usually, if you live together, you live together. And generally, there's not, there very often, if you're both in the same house, there's not a visitation structure because you're both in the same house. But you can absolutely get it if you feel like, for example, one spouse may go out of town for work or travel with his boys too much. You can certainly have temporary orders that also give you set custody.
It seemed
Mhm.
like when these orders were put in place, it was, I mean, it's still toxic, but it seemed like it was really toxic at the time because they also mentioned on the show that they can only communicate through an app where the judge monitors their text messages and communication.
Yep.
So I
It's
was
called the
wondering if that
Family
has
Wizard
something to do
app.
with it.
It said the parties are ordered to communicate about the minor children and the needs for the minor children only by using our Family Wizard, which registration can be found because that way all the text messages can be pulled up in court. You get to cussing somebody out or, lying about this or that. Oh, and Sandra Ivory, you said, why does Drew got to leave more than
Exactly,
him?
Sandra.
It's
Why?
even. Yeah, it's even. It's well, first, third, and fifth. I guess that would be more.
It
Yeah,
seems
she
like
has to leave
more.
first, third, and fifth, and he's got to leave second and fourth because he don't get as much time. But
But it seems like, from what I'm reading, it's because he really is the owner or the one paying the bills. And I want to get into that too with
yes,
the LLCs, if we could talk about that.
sure. And just before we get to that, I want to just go through. So this is the temporary orders. So temporary orders in every state. That's what you go to court to establish child support, establish visitation, and if you want alimony, establish that while the divorce is pending. So some people think like, oh, you got to wait till the divorce is over to get any money. No, no, no. You can start collecting your child support from right after you file by having a temporary orders hearing. And what was also interested here is, okay, in section 6, so we're going to go over just the temporary orders, who's supposed to pay what, and then Vanessa will go into who is not doing what they're supposed to do. according.
Okay.
All right. So costs associated with the home, it says now respondent is Ralph. So I'm gonna just use Ralph's name because he's
Thank you.
thank
I
you.
could not figure out who was the respondent and the what they call
Yes.
a petitioner or something like
Yeah,
that. Okay.
petitioner is Drew. So petitioner is the person who filed first. Here, Drew. And respondent is literally the person responding to them. So
Got it.
here, Ralph. So Ralph shall continue to pay the costs associated with the marital home, including the mortgage, taxes, and homeowners association. Each party shall continue to pay all other costs they've been paying otherwise. So what it's been is Ralph, even though everybody joke about him and talking about Ralph ain't got no job,
I still
Ralph
don't know what he
pays,
do.
Ralph pays for the home, the mortgage, the taxes, the HOA, the electric, the all of that. And then Drew is supposed to pay for the roaches. Okay, get rid of roaches. She's literally supposed to pay for the extermination bill.
Mhm.
And later when we get into it, Ralph is complaining that she ain't even paid the roach man.
He complained on the show about that too.
Oh my gosh. Let's see, we got cell phones. Let me see any other section. Oh yeah, and then with the vehicles, everybody kept their own vehicle and pays for their own vehicle. However, Ralph also he has a Porsche, but then he also has a Cadillac XTS uh, that he pays for and everything, and it's just his second car. But Drew asked the judge, "Well, can that car be used for her nanny?" And the judge said, "No, no, you pushing it now, no, girl." So that was
Is
a
there
no,
any
girl.
child support being paid at this point? I didn't see
Nope,
anything. Okay.
no.
Okay.
Let me go back to the first page. No, this is all of it. There's no child support. And that's not unusual where both sides are still living together, right?
Mhm.
Because child support is, as we know, for the support of the child, but generally it's expected if you're all under the same roof. We know the kids got electricity, water, food, because you're eating food. So then really the outstanding expenses for children would generally be extracurriculars,
Mhm.
which are generally split 50-50 anyways.
Yeah, and I didn't see any like alimony, but more so what you just discussed of who's paying what bills. Okay.
Mhm.
Look at me with my
Yeah.
little lawyer hat. I
Now
gotta sign up
I
for your webinar, girl.
I couldn't tell whether Ralph, and my presumption would be Ralph, whether Ralph was asking for alimony. It sounds more like Ralph is asking for a fair split of the assets and will then use his share of the assets to go make a new life for him. Did you
Right.
see anything about, or has he talked on the show about alimony?
He hasn't talked about alimony. He's made it clear on his podcast and even on the show that he's the one paying the bills. What he mentioned was that, or what I think Drew's lawyer mentioned was, as well as Drew, is that he can't afford to go, because a lot of people was asking why is he still there? Why won't he just leave? But he's saying he can't afford to pay the bills there and move out and pay bills somewhere else.
Right. Yeah, I can't believe people can't get that. This house to maintain this home is at least $10,000 a month.
Mm.
So, first of all, I think it's disgusting and obnoxious that people think a man should have to get up and leave his house that he pays all the bills for because he's the man. She's gainfully employed on a national television show making six figures. He
Yeah.
can leave. I mean, she can leave if that's the case. I think whoever pays for the house should be able to stay in that
I
house.
agree with that. I'm gonna tell you, I started off thinking like Ralph is this big bad villain. I may be not part of the majority, but I'm really starting to like Ralph. Like the
Oh,
more I watch the show, the more I watch his podcast. I'm like, I find myself really like I kind of like Ralph. Like he's not as bad as he's being made out to be by Drew on this show. And of course, there could be things we don't know that are happening
sure.
behind the scenes. But when I read this document, the man got his ducks in a row. And I'm like,
In a row, in a row.
I
I
love
am curious about why he's had different lawyers. Now I know his first lawyer was a man.
it. Mhm.
I'm very big on the narratives, and so I know some men like having male attorneys. It's really just how good your attorney is, how aggressive your attorney is going to be. And then he got someone else. So I think, yeah, now he's on his third attorney. Yeah, the third woman, she does seem aggressive, but I am curious on what that switch up was about.
Yeah, they didn't talk about it on the show. They just what the concern was. Drew was saying that with the second lawyer, they were starting to make some headway in agreements, and then with the
Ah,
last court hearing that we saw on the show, he it seemed last minute he changed his lawyer, but she came in and we saw her talk to him, and she said, "What this is a money grab," and she made
mm.
that very clear, and he came out seemingly on top. Like he got to stay in the basement. He awarded for the court documents to be unsealed. Drew was very upset about that. But my
I
question,
can't believe they were sealed in the first place. And in fact, there's some stuff that if I have the free time, I'm going to petition the court to look at some of these documents because I know Tiana Taylor's divorce was in the same county. I
Mhm.
know that Tiana Taylor makes $110,000 a month and that Iman Schubert makes 35. I know that Tyrese makes $275,000 a month and that his ex-wife Samantha makes 7 because all of their documents were open. They were never sealed. So no, those documents should have never been sealed in the first place. What it is she didn't want people to know how much money she made and things like that. I was actually disappointed that the documents that we do have they redacted the salary information. They didn't need to do that. That is not a requirement. That is not a requirement. But
I know that I had one of my boots on the ground. She was trying to get the documents for me, and she had did some requests for it. I'm not sure what it's called, but she reached out to me yesterday, and she said the court clerk had called her back and said if she wanted the whole file, that it would cost $800. And I know it was $80 just to get what we
yep.
looked at. It was $800, and um it says she had to the docs requested specifically. It says she had to like specify what dates, and then she said she went ahead and told them she wanted like the amended complaint, protective order, and temporary support hearing motion in order. And I was like, you go ahead, girl.
Oh yeah.
I
Who is
was
this?
trying to I'll share with you, but one of my boots on the grounds, one of
Oh,
my
okay.
third
Gotcha. Gotcha.
lady
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
followers,
Oh,
I was
perfect.
there, but she's like, she really she low key, she's the one that helped me when it came to she was the one that dropped in my inbox about Christian and him. And I was
Perfect.
like, go girl. I
I
appreciate my
love
followers
it.
so much.
So little baby 245 said Drew said she wanted the documents sealed because of the kids. She didn't want the kids to see things later. I figured she was full of it, but didn't press it. No, see, here's the thing. Now they may I don't think that they did. Yeah, they may have done like a home study. That's the study that investigates what home the kids should spend the majority of their time with.
Mhm.
They talk to the teachers, they talk to counselors, like if they do extracurricular, that kind of stuff. Those things are always sealed. No, she didn't want people to know her contracts. She didn't want people to know how much she earns on Real Housewives and those financial things that are standard for Gwinnett County and Fulton County, the counties surrounding Atlanta where they live. So yeah.
She said on the show too, like there's things about Ralph she doesn't want the kids to know. Like she's saying, like she's hinting at him being a cheater and doing all these things. But Ralph is saying there's things she's done as well that's in the paperwork. But so is everything going to be unsealed? It seems like from what we were able to get, only recent documents were unsealed, but
Correct.
everything prior was still sealed. So is that what it means when he
That's
won
usually what
that?
happens. Usually, when something is sealed on a docket, then you're required to file an unredacted version later. But with
Mhm.
lawyers having so much going on, unless the judge forces you to do it, it just goes by the wayside. So it's more likely that we'll see going forward things be unsealed. And then you can always redact versions of a specific document. Like if she wanted to do a document about, she had to file a motion where Ralph's cheating was relevant, she could always file portions of that motion under seal.
Mhm.
But again, like honestly, how often do kids really go and pull a docket? Now, the media might, yes, that's true. But girl, you're on Real Housewives saying this man is cheating. So what the hell difference does it make?
Right.
You're not slick. You're not slick. Oh, Miss Cargill, thank you so much for the super chat. She said, "What if Ralph is paying bills with Drew's money?" Huh.
Now that's why I'm gonna wait till we get to these
Yep.
LLCs because
I think we're ready. You ready? I think that's an excellent segue. Let me go ahead and put this one. I'm going to just put the motion up, just kind of like as a visual. And then we can just talk about all of the things, girl, as we go. So, you want me to set it up or you want to set it up, Vanessa?
yeah, you can set it up. I think, my one question was who has the higher percentage of Drew Sidora LLC?
Okay.
I'll let the lawyer set this one up.
Got you. So, one of the first unsealed major documents, this is a motion that was filed by Ralph. He calls it an expedited motion for contempt and sanctions against Drew and Drew's lawyer, Tanya Mitchell Graham. He is seeking an evidentiary hearing because under Georgia law, and honestly, the law of every state, when you file for divorce, there is a standing order. That standing order says now that a divorce has been filed, nobody can destroy community assets, meaning no one can take the money from the bank account and just spend it all. No one can sell the house without the other person's permission. Because sometimes, the house will have only one person's name on it. Basically, no one can destroy any assets of the community or spend or squander, or even you can't go and get a loan. So, for example, you couldn't get a second mortgage on your house in the middle of a divorce without the court's approval. It's to maintain the status quo. Because if you're allowed to go out and do those things, it only makes a divorce more complicated. Well, honey, Ralph was livid because the way that Ralph makes money and the way that Drew makes money is through the Drew Sidora LLC. So that is one LLC where all the payments come to it for all her endeavors, her singing, her acting, Real Housewives and everything. Well, honey, after she filed for divorce in February, her lawyer behind Ralph's back went and terminated the whole damn LLC. Now, that LLC was how Ralph made his income. Ralph got 40% of the money that came to the LLC, and she got 60%. I'm talking everything. All of it was there. And when you
listed it.
say that again.
And he listed he was listing every movie she was in, every appearance, all of that. Like he listed, I said, this lawyer, damn, she's good.
Yep, all of it. So it was Drew Sidora LLC. And what he is accusing her and her attorney of is colluding together to violate the court's rule that you can't destroy any community property. You cannot loan out any community property. You can't get a loan against any of it. You can't waste it. And you certainly can't terminate it or use it without the court's permission or the consent of the other person. And so what he's saying is that without permission, the lawyer falsely represented to the state of Georgia that the Drew Sidora LLC was no longer in business, affirmatively submitted paperwork to dissolve the entire LLC, and Ralph didn't know nothing about it for like a whole year. So Ralph is operating as though, yes, it still exists. That means they weren't properly paying taxes to it because it didn't exist. And then she went and opened a different LLC in a whole nother state.
Two, right?
Two of them. Two different ones in other states without Ralph on them. And then funneled the money that used to go to the Sidora LLC. She started getting them checks going to her new ones. So her housewife check used to go to Sidora LLC, not no more. All them six figures.
What were the new LLCs? Because I think she changed one to the one in Cali, because it was California, and I forget the
one is with Drew, and one is Drew Sidora Global LLC. Yep. Yep. And Ralph argues that by doing this, it denied Ralph access to the Sidora LLC, and Drew directed third parties who previously dealt with Ralph to not communicate or involve Ralph in company business to which he handled or was previously involved in, and retained all revenue that was previously assigned to the LLC. And a lawyer can't do that. Because also, when you're a lawyer, if there's a conflict of interest, you have to get permission from both parties to represent both sides. So, by her lawyer disbanding the LLC, that's half hers, half Ralph's, that lawyer would have needed to get Ralph's permission to do it because she's already Drew's lawyer, which means her loyalty is mainly to Drew. You can't just, it's no different than Drew herself couldn't go and disband it. See, I think Drew is going to run behind a lawyer and be like, well, Your Honor, I didn't know I couldn't do it. My lawyer did it for me. And then as a lawyer, I could see her lawyer thinking, well, Drew owns 60%, Ralph only owns 40. Therefore, if they were to vote or, have a vote, she would outvote him and could do what she wanted. So it's not that big of a deal. But here's the thing. That might be true with the traditional business. The problem is you have a divorce proceeding that specifically said you cannot dissolve assets of the marriage. And this LLC, without question, was an asset of the marriage. It was created specifically for this. Oh, let me see. Yeah.
And the states of the other LLC, one was California. I was trying to go back and see. Illinois. Okay. So she did one in like Chicago, her hometown. I was wondering where California came into play or why California, but okay.
Yeah. And y'all, and then it gets worse. Not only did she do that, then she reallocated all her 1099s and stuff, which used to get paid through to the old one. She had all her paychecks and stuff coming to the new entity. But, excuse me, the bigger issue, and the issue that would have pissed me off, she then went to this loan shark company and got some huge 6-figure loan at some high predatory interest rate and used the marital home as the collateral for the loan during the divorce. You can't do that without telling Ralph, and then defaulted. So now the house is at risk for foreclosure because she ain't made payments on the loan. That loan was an advance on money she was going to get paid. So it was like an advance on her salary for Housewives, or maybe an upcoming album.
Was it for, I was going to say, is it for the album that she just dropped? I wonder.
Probably, because I would just pull some records. Mary J. Blige did the same thing in 2013. She got a $500,000 loan from Bank of America and ultimately defaulted on it in 2013. And they had to sue her. Bless her heart, she wasn't able to pay. And largely, it's often because you got so many expenses associated with the launch of a new album. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was that. The problem is that court order says you can't go get a loan on the community house. Now, she could go out and get a loan and the collateral be something that she and only she owns, but you can't put nobody else's house up as collateral. And then you got the nerve not make your payments, girl. It says, so does Drew not have funds? I don't know. I can't tell you but I know
the album is doing okay. She has it, but I don't know how much she's putting towards this album. I don't know what Dennis, the hot dog slayer, is putting towards it versus her. Well, I think he's more of a producer of it. Then she did celebrate.
That like button, guys.
She celebrated on the show on one of the recent episodes that she was getting a record deal. So, but I don't know how much she fronted for this album.
So here's the thing. That record deal is community property in the state of Georgia.
Well, that's part of the 60-40.
Huh?
That's part of the 60-40 split too.
It has to be. She should have waited till the divorce was final. Any asset, whenever you get a new deal, it would be no different. These basketball players, that basketball player gets a $40 million deal while you're married, you're entitled to 20 million or whatever he collects during the marriage. You're entitled to a portion of it. So what she was doing effectively was like her deal with the hot dog man. She had that money flow to a new entity so that he didn't have to know of any of the details. The mail for the new entities probably did not come to the house. She didn't have to worry about it being part of the taxes because the new entity files taxes separately. He specifically said that they filed joint taxes all of their years.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't until he went to try and file taxes for 2024 that he finds out, oh no, she's not filing with me because oh girl has created the new entities. So in other words, she wanted to go into these deals with Dennis and not have to cut him his portion. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is when you go into a business, and you'll see in these documents, Ralph talks about it was 60-40. His income was derived solely from his received distributions from the entity. So when you have your own business, you may not give yourself a salary, but you give yourself what's called a draw or a distribution. And generally, the rule is when one side takes a distribution, the other side gets one.
Mm-hmm.
So if Drew's paying herself a portion, let's say she got a check for 100, she should give herself 60 and he gets 40. Now I can understand she's like, I hate you. I wish you would get the hell up out the basement and get out of my life. I don't want to give you a goddamn dime. Totally get it. But how she did it appears fraudulent. What she could have done and should have done instead is leave the Drew LLC as it was, create another LLC. She could create a different LLC and have certain things moved to that LLC. She could even petition the court and say, I want permission that now that we're separated, we're going through all this, all my new checks are going to flow through the new LLC.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason she didn't want that is she didn't want that man to know how much money she was making. You can't have it both ways. You can't have a divorce where you're going to fight about money and hide the money. If you don't want him to know that kind of stuff, that's where you got to offer him a lump sum to get the hell away from you and wrap it up.
So that could have been an option. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. But so, yep, go ahead.
Now I want to talk about the taxes that you mentioned, right? Because
Yep.
it not only is from me reading and what I interpret that he's saying the way she went about, opening the LLCs were fraudulent. It seemed as though he was also saying that there was some fraudulent activity with the filing of the taxes because she didn't claim, or he was asking for like 1099s or something for all the movies she was in and everything, because he's
Correct.
saying those things weren't claimed on the taxes. So is he also trying to say that, she not trying to pay Uncle Sam?
I think more so he seems to be arguing that she's withholding financial documents from him, and you can't do that in a divorce. They
And
have
that's
had
what she's
discovery.
saying he's doing. That's what she's saying he's doing on the show. And I saw Toria's question. Yeah, Dennis is saying that he did say he's not working with Drew anymore. I don't know how true that was, but he did say that because he went on the press tour with her when the album released. So, but she's saying the opposite on the show, that it's Ralph that's withholding his financial documents.
So, and there's discovery deadlines. So those deadlines mean that there is by a certain date where each side is supposed to exchange everything. And so, so here, for example, one of the things Ralph is arguing in this now, mind you, this is only Ralph's motion. She has not filed her response to his motion yet. So that's why we're just breaking it down from what he's saying right now. When we get hers, we can do that. But Ralph is saying she failed to pay approximately $30,000 for unpaid taxes in 2023. So he's saying for her share because that was the last year that they filed them together. He also says right here, she refused to pay the home's extermination bill, in which case she only made one payment. So she only paid for the roaches one time. After that, she just up here just letting the roaches just run wild. Just run wild. And here's the exact wording of what the court says. It says, the court's order states, each party is restrained from selling, encumbering, trading, contracting to sell, which is what she did when she got that loan against it, or otherwise disposing or removing from the jurisdiction of the court, quote, any property belonging to the parties except in the ordinary course of business. So property includes the LLCs because that's the entity from which they would get their paychecks. And it also says it prevents their agents, their servants, their employees, and all other people acting in concert with them from doing that conduct either. So basically, this means her lawyer knew she wasn't supposed to do it, and she knew that she wasn't supposed to. And then also he attached the tax returns to show that literally with all the money that would come in, she would get 60%, he would get 40%. And that includes the Real Housewives checks, talent agreements, all those kinds of things. And y'all, hold on, this was crazy. He also states real big in paragraph 17. He said that Ralph, in turn, his job was to perform duties behind the scenes. He said he performed duties behind the scenes, which included, among other things, because my question is, well, what the hell do you do? He said handling the day-to-day business operations and hiring registered agents and other contractors that performed services for Sidora, LLC, for which he was paid a distribution by Drew using the funds that were deposited into the account. And he said payments to him from that bank account also included loan payments because he loaned the LLC $150,000, of which $49,000 Drew has yet to pay him back.
So he I read that and interpreted it to be like he's saying he gave her the money to kind of start her career, is how it sounds.
That, or maybe to launch a podcast or launch an album, probably like an album or something like that. Because the question is, when was this 150 given? It's unusual for a husband to loan money to a wife actively in a marriage. But what this might have been when he's saying he loaned it to the LLC, he very well could have, for example, taken it from his 401k, because you can get a loan against your 401k, took it from the 401k to invest and do something for her. And then in turn, he needs the money repaid because he's got to put it back in his 401k, as an example.
Okay. Because I guess I was looking at it like you're married. How I kind of felt like that piece was going to be something that could be something she wins on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm your wife. You gave me money. Now you want me. But what caught me up was that it sounded like she had paid some of it back, but not all of it. So
that's what makes me think he probably got a loan himself to loan her that money. Because also with her being the entertainer, if he previously had a W-2, I think at one point I'd looked up his LinkedIn and he's had W-2s before. If he had a W-2, it would be easier for him to get a personal loan for certain things if they needed a cash infusion. And then the paying him back very well could have been repaying the loan to whatever source, he had to pay.
Okay.
He also complains that that his access to operating the business and to the business accounts that he had prior to and during the first part of the divorce stopped, and it stopped distributions which he previously received as both co-owner and ceased performing services and that Drew ceased performing services with him that the parties had previously provided together. Um, like as for things other than Real Housewives. So I guess if there were some contracts that they did together, I don't know, podcasts or something, they used to do it together. That wasn't, they didn't do anymore. And that was part of his source of income. And in 19, he says, Ralph says he previously used distributions that he received from the LLC to pay bills associated with the marital home and other liabilities. So that's how come he's saying, look, he don't have money to move out the basement and get another house when his income source, which was the LLC, he's now been shut out of.
But I thought he'd do tech. That's what he said. That's what she said on the show. Like he do some type of IT tech stuff. Now it never was clear what it was or what company it was for, but I thought that was the source of income. But I saw something in the chat too. Like, so if this happened over a year ago and he's just finding out, and he's saying he was shut out of the LLC, how is he still maintaining the bills?
We don't know is the answer. Because also when you get distributions, a lot of times you'll get distributions closer to the end of the year when you know that you got the money there. So it could have been that he found this out towards the end of the year when it was time for a distribution and the money wasn't there, or money was a lot lower, or things like that. So the question is, I don't know, maybe it's the tech stuff is how he's paying the bills.
Scamming, it's like, no, allegedly.
Yeah, it could be. Oh, but wait, there was another section. I was like, I couldn't believe this part. Hold on. It was that, he also talked about Drew failed to give him all, like, as I mentioned, there's a set time frame where you're supposed to exchange documents. He said Drew failed to give him her sources of income to be used to prepare their taxes for 2024. She gave no documentation except for documentation regarding her unemployment benefits that she filed for without Ralph's knowledge in 2024. She collected unemployment. So when y'all, hey, come over here, y'all. So when we talk about how she wanted it sealed, because it was stuff Drew didn't want the public to know, she didn't want you to know she filed for unemployment.
How could she get unemployment when she's employed? Is it because they weren't filming that she could get unemployment, or what?
She got $4,187. Listen, when it's very tricky when you have an LLC to collect unemployment. It's possible. The legal way that you do it now, if you're getting unemployment, she would have needed to be, for example, if she was cast on a show or something where she was an employee and then she gets cut from the show, laid off from the show, something like that, perhaps she was able to she was able to qualify for unemployment from that job, as an example. Then what happens with unemployment is every week they make you confirm whether or not you earned any income.
Right.
Like in Texas, it's like if you do, you have to tell them how much. And they do this calculation. If you made $600 or less, then you can get a certain amount. Like they'll give you up to what? I think it's like $600 a week or $400 a week, something like that. Per month, you could get $2,400 for unemployment. So what she may have done is, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, on weeks when she wasn't making anything from her LLC job, from the Drew Sidora LLC, she may have called in and said, hey, I didn't make anything this week. Send me my $600 check. But then the next week when she did get money, I don't know. It's real tricky. I think the unemployment office would love to audit.
Yeah, because I know when you get further down, he listed at least 5 movies she was in. He talks about her going on appearances, her music. Hell, she even listed the movie she was in for Candy, y'all. Like,
sure did. So, and see, the thing is, with unemployment, every week when you call that little hotline, they ask you, are you ready, willing, and able for employment? You have to say yes. If the answer is no, you don't even qualify. So if she is unavailable for 40 hours a week because that week she's working on a movie, but maybe the movie doesn't pay, because a lot of times the movies don't pay until they're purchased, until they're sold. So technically, you're not working for free and you don't qualify for unemployment if you're on a movie set each day,
Right.
because that entity that you're doing the movie with, that's who needs to pay you. So I feel like it's probably stuff like collecting $4,187 worth of unemployment. That might be some of the stuff that she really wanted to keep sealed.
Yeah.
That'd be my
And
guess.
and someone asked in the chat, so he listed her movies? Yes.
Yes, he does.
He
All these
listed
exhibits.
all of them. Like, he listed
Oh,
there's so many
I took some of those
movies.
exhibits out. Yeah, here they go.
Yeah.
Here's the whole section.
Yeah.
Adopted is exhibit N. Vicious murder.
Mind your business.
Mind your business. Coming in hot. The despaired. God's grace. The Sheila Johnson story. Woman of the jury. Based. What is it? Boxed into. Boxed into. The past.
The Past
She's
was
got a lot.
Candy's movie that she was the main character in. Like, but yeah, he listed that's why I said this lawyer ain't playing no games. Yeah, it might be Tubi movies, Tori, but she gotta check. He listed.
She gonna have to explain that unemployment, honey. No, I don't understand. That was a 6-figure amount. And then that loan that she got a 6-figure loan. It was a purchase agreement against future, under 79. It says against future receivables from Drew Sidora without recourse, meaning if she ultimately did not make as much money as she thought she was going to make, she's still going to have to pay the loan back. That is a high interest rate. And she made the loan against their marital home. That's crazy. And they had the nerve to not pay it, default it, or pay it late, risking foreclosure. Girl, between that and the unemployment. Yeah. So a lot of people are saying, why don't they just sell the doggone house? Let me tell you, baby. In Atlanta, I know so many of those couples who are going through divorces or going through times, and the one thing they're trying to stick to is the houses. First of all, those houses generally have appreciated quite a bit since when people first moved out to, I don't know, Sandy Springs or Ackworth or wherever those places were.
Mhm.
In 10 years, a lot of them have appreciated $600,000. So they want to keep that equity, but they live outside of their means. So a lot of them have second mortgages. While some people in a divorce, especially if you've only got the first mortgage, you have $1 million house for $3,700 mortgage, taxes, everything all in. That's great. So what will happen is, because you can't get another house for $3,800 a month all wrapped in, you can't even get an apartment that's going to be 7,000 square feet for that, then one of the two parties generally wants the house. So that's often why they won't sell it. What you can do is one of the parties can assume the loan, or you can get a court order that says, Your Honor, we're going to have an appraiser appraise the home, determine how much equity is. And then there will be an order that says, my ex-spouse has to refinance it and get my name off the note, refinance it, and therefore give me my equity. Or that when they sell the house, they've got to give you whatever your equity is with interest. So I really try to encourage people, if you can afford to keep your home and that home has equity in it, don't think that because you're getting a divorce, you have to get rid of it. Because a lot of times it's better for the kids. The kids would like to stay in their childhood home. Kids don't really know any better. But if it can be done, and it's, baby, especially if you got that 3% interest rate,
Yeah.
I ain't giving up that 3%.
I will not budge because
No, I ain't giving up that 3%. We're not gonna do it.
a thing of the past now.
Yes. Oh, but divorce warning. Let me tell you something. If you're on the mortgage at all, you want to be really careful with agreeing to a divorce order that allows the other person to have the house and be required to simply refinance out your name off. Because here's the tea. The court order will say you got to refinance it into your name in 30 days. But the true law is you simply have to make a good faith effort. In other words, if your credit is too effed up for you to get approved for that loan, court ain't gonna do nothing about it. Court, I know this man called and got a consultation with me. His wife, his name has been on his ex-wife's mortgage for 10 years because her credit is so messed up, she can't get his name off. She can't refinance it. And now his current wife is mad because they can't get a home because they have to be able to show they have enough income to afford both homes.
Wow.
So you better be careful leaving your name on a house that you ain't living in no more. Second thing is that person could choose, say, I don't want to pay the note no more. Nowadays, it takes about a year to foreclose. They could live there rent-free for a year, and when it forecloses on your name because
Wow.
your name is still on the note. The end. Y'all gotta watch out. These divorces, no joke, y'all.
Noted. Always love a good lesson with you. And I'm just assuming, like, dumb question, but reading all of this, there's no prenup, I'm assuming, right?
No prenup, guys. None. And that's what I'm confused about. Now, I have not watched the Drew Ralph storyline as much as you, so you know better. What the hell is this man's job?
We don't know. Like, we don't see him go to work. It's just, she only spoke about it being tech. It's just like Brittany's husband, the newbie on Real Housewives of Atlanta too. Like,
girl, you posted a picture of him when they got married. Oh my God. He was so
Kelly, yeah.
He was so ugly. Do he look better now? I don't watch the show.
He looks the same.
Oh no.
He looks the same. But yeah, like,
oh, but he's rich.
Unclear. Yeah. Yeah, he takes care of her. That's Brittany and her husband.
Gotta be rich.
He takes care of her. And I know it says he's an investor and all of those different things, but it says just, IT tech marketing is what I saw. I see Toria saying that too. IT tech marketing, but like a specific company he works for, or seeing him get up, go to work with a briefcase. We don't see that. We just see him cooking half naked in an apron, doing his daddy cooking show and doing this podcast.
I feel like Ralph became unattracted to her a while ago. Like, remember when she was trying to do her fitness videos, but she wasn't actually fit and stuff like that?
Drew, yeah.
Yeah, it was, Dropped by Drew, bless her heart. I mean, she seems like such a nice girl that she'd just be, pleasant to be around. But yeah, he seemed like he was over it a long time ago. But I wonder if he had like a normal corporate job, perhaps when they got together. Was it your understanding that he had like a corporate gig when they got together? He don't look like a personal trainer or nothing.
Ralph was playing football, but that was at the college level. I do think that he had he wanted to go into a professional level of football, but I believe he got hurt or something like that. But he played football in college, I think, and he is fit. Like, he does kind of look like a trainer. He has a great body. I think that was his plan, but it didn't work out for him. And
a long time ago. Okay. I'm on his LinkedIn. Okay, now I'm feeling better. I'm on his LinkedIn. First of all, he looks very gainfully employed on here. I'm going to give him that.
Please put it up here on the screen.
Girl, yes. Here we go. There we go. Okay, Mr. Ralph. All right.
I've never seen him look like that. Oh my
God, he looks so wholesome. He looked like he'll sell the hell out of some life insurance, don't he?
Yeah.
Oh, it gets your policy, baby. Oh yeah, you'll be able to draw collateral off of it, your loan against it. That'll be one of them good policies that could do a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, that's what that is. With that little, I know that tie. I've seen it at Burlington Coat Factory. I like that. I like it. It says global client executive, a people and technology change agent. Oh, he went to Rutgers. Oh, okay. We got mutual friends. Oh, he knows Kavan. I'm about to call Kavan. He knows Kavan. Kavan went to Rutgers. Okay. He says, my role is solely focused on understanding the business agenda of business leaders and enterprise organizations, delivering Gartner's trusted research. Oh, that's a real company. Research analysis and insights to help blah, blah, blah.
How long ago that's
oh my God, he does a job, guys. This is a real job. He works for Gartner. He's a client executive. I don't know what that does, but client executive for Gartner. He's been with them for 9 years. That's a real job. And let me see
Is
if
it
he
a
finished
tech
college.
job? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh, 2006. Okay, we've got mutual friends. He went to Rutgers as a business econ degree. I wonder if he
Right.
knows Nate.
That's where he played football.
Oh, so he played with Nate. I'm about to find out. Okay, hold on. Let me see how much these people got. That's a real job. He makes 6 figures. Okay, Gartner.
Gartner. I don't know that company. Is it tech related? I don't know.
Let's see. Client. I don't know. We about to find out. Oh, can you see this one? Let
Client
me see.
executive salaries.
Okay, it says Gartner client executive salaries is between 216 and 352. I'm sorry, Ralph, you're not poor. You're not poor at all. Good job. Yeah, more of these. And then there's another. Oh, look. Gartner itself on Gartner Careers. Client executive. A reasonable estimate of the base salary range for this role is 144 to 194. There you go. 150. That makes sense. That would be consistent with the mortgage and all the things, the upkeep of that house. Like I said, are probably around $7,000 a month on that salary of, 150 to 2. All his money would be going to taking care of the house. So it makes sense that they got to split it.
Okay.
Okay, Ralph. Oh,
Listen, the picture looks old, but I'm definitely gonna go with this. It says it's up to date, it's current. That's his job. We just ain't never seen him in that suit on Real Housewives of Atlanta.
yet it says here Gartner believes in fair and equitable pay. A reasonable estimate of the base salary range for this role, what he does, is 144,000 to 194 USD. They offer benefit programs including generous PTO, 401k match up to 7,200 a year. Ooh, that's good. That's 14,000 a year, baby. You can get some Amazon and tear it up with that. So, okay, I'm sorry, Ralph. I apologize. I was one of those people out here acting like you're poor too, and you're not poor. You're hardworking. You have a degree. You just not in the, you're not in the limelight with whatever you make your money for. So there's that.
So why he in the divorce in that document acting like the world is coming to the end because he can't have access to this LLC?
So I think that answers 2 questions for us, right? The first question is, how is he able to continue paying bills without access to the LLC money? So now we know he's making 150 to 2, but their lifestyle is much more grand than that, right? She has a chef. There's a nanny. There's all the travel. Their children probably go to private schools. My niece's school is 30,000 a year for 2nd grade. So, his salary probably covers the basics, the very basics. And, she's been this entertainer her whole life. And as an entertainer, it likely ebbs and flows. Prior to Real Housewives of Atlanta, I don't know how that lady made money consistently. I wouldn't be surprised if she was paycheck to paycheck pre-Housewives, to be honest, between that and Tyler Perry movies, getting her through or whatever she was doing.
Right.
I just wasn't familiar with her. I mean, who am I? I'm one person. But I think what it is I think he needs both of them to maintain his lifestyle. And he wants to get up out that basement. That man want to get up out that basement. So if he's going to get up out that basement, he's going to need to pull together all sources of income, especially because I believe what was expected is she wanted him to get up out the basement and leave, but still pay the mortgage and the HOA and the taxes. That's the problem.
Yeah. And before this, like, I know she was on The Game, and I don't know if she get residuals from that being on Netflix. I know I watch it every single night, but
yeah, that paid fine back then. Yeah, back then that would have paid okay, but that's not going to take you through the ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and I mean, she had a small role on White Chicks. She was in that movie, a very small role there, more like an extra. She had a few lines. So, but other than that, we would have to look at her, what they call it, the IMDb or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
IMDb. But my other question was too, I know Atlanta doesn't have a rule like a 10-year marriage rule where everything is split. in half, right? Like Atlanta doesn't have that like California, because they got married in August of 2014.
Oh wow, they've been together. No, it's so from day one, Atlanta's community or whatever community property. So from day one, it's split. There's no prenup. Um, I think what you might be referring to is some states have rules pertaining to alimony, and with alimony, they've been married long enough for either side to go for alimony. The challenge is going to be who makes more money, number one, and then what standard of life have they gotten used to? We know she makes six figures from Real Housewives alone. Plus, she's got her singing, her all of the other things. I would argue she probably makes between 400 to 600K. I would say maybe more like 400K. So, if anything, she would likely have to pay him alimony. And it sounds like I don't think he doesn't like being seen as this guy mooching off of Drew. So I don't think that he would fight for alimony. I think instead he would want a fair portion of a split of the assets, like the house. Or if he's no longer, I don't know if he doesn't call himself her manager or anything like that, but a portion of the value of the LLCs before she terminated them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering that because I know, like they always say in California, after 10 years, they're entitled to half of everything. Pretty much is what.
Well, in Texas, it's the first day. So
wow.
Georgia is the first day too, but half of everything acquired during the marriage.
Okay.
Not before though, just acquired.
Well, it seems like most was acquired during the marriage.
Yeah. 10 years, absolutely. Yeah, the house for sure. Let me see what that house. Let me see, where are they? Gwinnett County. Hold on.
They look in the comments. They don't believe that he's still working at this company, Simone. They say he ain't updated his LinkedIn. Like
that means he would be.
I do not,
y'all. That would mean he's 5 years late. I don't think he could be 5 years late on that.
I do not believe it. I doubt in my soul, y'all. I'm with y'all. I do not believe he still works there. I don't know. That picture,
y'all are terrible.
Not an updated picture. That is an old picture of him in that suit. He don't look like that right now.
Y'all are terrible.
Hold more up in the arms and the chest than what we seeing in there. I'm with y'all. I'm serious. I'm gonna go with it because that's what the LinkedIn say. I'm not a LinkedIn girl, but
all right. I see their house. Their house has been pulled up. And what I am showing, the documentation. Hold on, let me see if I can adjust it so that I can put it on the screen without. I don't want to dox their address. Cool. I can do that. Hold on. Y'all, this is the house. This is why they fighting over the house. Well, the
house look. I mean, it looked like a nice house. I told you the basement.
It sure does. It sure does. So the house, all of it together, it is assessed for like 1.7. 1.7 is just the taxes. The true value of the house is probably closer to like 2 million. It's got a pool. It was built in 2004. It says, what's the whole size?
Because they moved in while on the show.
That's true. Ooh, they're in a little country club. Hold on. And what is the size of this attribute floor area?
Club. Wow.
Oh, yeah. They got 3 levels. The basement's 3,000 square feet. The first floor is another 3,000 square feet. And the second floor is 2,500. So 8,500 square feet. That'll do it.
Wow.
That'll do it. And 1.7 million is what the house is worth. Now, I can't see from here what they owe on it. I could do another search on that, but more than likely there's equity in it. And that's probably the real thing they're going to be fighting over is the equity more so than either person getting spousal support. Because I felt like she would have been talking about wanting spousal support or something like that on the show if that were the case.
Yeah. Because I told you, I mean, because I'm trying to figure out how he doing a cooking show. He got a podcast set, and then he did a tour of the basement. It was dope. Like he got his own entrance. It's a movie theater down there with reclining seats in there. I was like, No wonder you ain't leaving.
For real. East Austin said, I'm reading the reviews for Ralph's work. He's effectively a project manager. Y'all, I believe Ralph. Because that's the kind of job you absolutely do virtually. You can do it from anywhere in America. You can be at home. That would make sense that his office would need to be as nice and as comfortable as his office was on the show. And honestly, that's a really respectable living, especially when you're with a entertainer. Because the truth is, with entertainers, that money ebbs and flows. You're hot one minute, you're not another minute. So his income could definitely be that foundational point where you guys know, okay, we can cover our mortgage, we can cover our cars, we can cover the kids' school and food. We want to be fancier than that. I got to get out there and get to singing and dancing. You know, if I were Drew, that's how I'd see it.
Okay, we're gonna roll with it. He project managing. Okay, we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll with it.
Wait, Latoya said, she said he was asking for it. Asking for what? Spousal support? Well, now I believe he is, because he's talking about she done stole the money from the LLC. So he probably feels justified in going for it now, because he's basically saying since 2023, when she terminated their joint business without his authority or permission, that she needs to run that money back. He is actually asking the court to penalize her and her lawyer $15,000, penalize him $15,000 for their behavior, plus to give him, I believe, another 15 or 20,000 for his lawyer's fees for having to even file these motions. And he's probably going to file a bar grievance complaint against her lawyer for dissolving his LLC that he was half owner of without permission.
I don't know. The lawyer I didn't trust. I said that on one of my recaps. When she came up there with that wig, I was like, oh no, this don't look like a good lawyer. It was not a good wig. And then you got Ralph coming up here with the lawyer talking about the money grab. She got a Birkin. Like, I was like, yo, I said, oh, Drew in trouble. She better get, like, her lawyer gives vibes of when like Phaedra went to court to represent Cherie against Bob, and Bob came in there with his own paperwork down on
girl.
Like, that's
order in this court. Thank you, Laura Entertainment. Laura said Drew's net worth is $2.5 million.
And that's always an estimate. That don't always be, it could be more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, those are all the real question is, but what are their debts? Are they living outside of their means? And it sounds like if she's getting loans on future income, future contracts, future deals, that sounds like it could be outside of your means, because those are the most predatory. If your credit is good, you get a business loan, you get an SBA loan, you get that kind of loan. But if your business affairs aren't lined up right, or your credit isn't, you might not be able to get that. I also want to reference this. Shay says he's managing all of Drew's projects. I want to say, I think a lot of times when women are in entertainment or have big personalities, and the man takes a job of doing things like managing them or their projects, I feel like between Wendy Williams' husband and Mary J's husband, them husbands gave these kinds of men a really bad name. But the truth is, if he's good at it, like look at Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's dad, when they're good at it, it takes a load off your shoulders. It gives you peace in your household. Because at the end of the day, somebody's got to look over your contracts. Somebody's got to, make sure that affairs are in order. So if you can trust your partner to be a manager, or you be your business manager or whatever, that's great. But the problem is everybody ain't capable. All men ain't capable. All of them are not capable.
Yeah. I'm shocked and appalled. I wish you could do a poll on here. I'm so interested.
I think I can. Yeah, if I go to my YouTube, I can.
I'm just trying to see how many of you guys are you team Ralph or are you team Drew after hearing all of this information?
Yes. Whose team are you on?
I'm curious to know, because there's definitely a mix of opinions in the comments, which I appreciate all the comments.
Yep. We got Team Ralph and we got Team Drew.
And yes, hit those like buttons, hit those subscribe buttons.
I feel like
So
I
it's
want both of them to walk
bigger.
away feeling good about things. I think part of the hard part is, though, when you've been cheated on, you don't want to split nothing 50-50. I don't want to give nobody who cheated on me. Okay. I
Well,
don't want you to have shit.
we don't know that he really did.
Oh, he did. I saw the way he looked at her when she used to have a fupa. He had a wandering eye. He had a wandering eye on that TV
I
screen.
mean, we don't know what he did in Tampa. There's no women that have come forward. There's no
No,
receipts.
nobody goes to Tampa for anything ever. That is coming from a girl who went to middle school in Tampa. I went to Carrollwood Elementary and Lockhart Middle School. You don't go to Tampa to clear your mind.
Is there strip clubs? Is there a lot of strip clubs in Tampa?
Yeah. Oh my God. They had titty parks. They used to have girls in
What?
G-strings selling hot dogs on the highway, on the side of the highway off Dale Mabry. And my brother used to love him. He was like 6 years old back then. He's like, Mom, can we get a hot dog? And the girls had their big titties out. And maybe he went down there to get a big tittied hot dog.
Because I was saying in the last episode, Angela was talking to her husband, Charles, and he was saying, like, yeah, what happened on your trip? I was in Tampa. I was like, damn, these men in Atlanta love Tampa.
I guess it is. It's like a quick little getaway. So I guess was a rumor he went to Tampa to clear his mind, or did he come up missing? What's the story between Ralph?
With Drew and Ralph, that was a part of the storyline in a previous season where they were arguing or something. They weren't getting along. He disappeared for a few days, and she was asking where he was, and he said Tampa. So we don't even know if he really was in Tampa, but that's the story he gave her. As far as what he did in Tampa, never disclosed.
That would be the last time you ever disappear on me and your kids. Because then the next time I get in a fight, I'm gone. And I'm leaving with you with these babies. And you're going to have to comb this baby's hair and everything. I wish you would. I wish you would. Mm-mm.
This has been so insightful. I swear, the unemployment took me out, child.
Unemployment. That lady got $4,187 of unemployment. And here's the thing. In the next season of Real Housewives, somebody is going to make a jab at her and talk about her little $4,000 unemployment.
Yeah, because of you. See? We're gonna be in trouble. Every time we link up, we're gonna be in trouble.
We really are. Well, Vanessa, let them know where they can find you, how they can subscribe and support.
Well, thank you for that. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, reality, like you see on the screen, _recap. Also on YouTube, reality _recap 2876 is how you find me on YouTube. I cover and recap all the trending reality TV shows and always giving you the reality, the news, the gossip on a daily basis. So please like, share, and support. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And you guys, don't forget, you can go to my website, SimoneRedwine.com. I got an upcoming webinar called It's Never Too Late for Law School, where it's going to be completely free. And I talk about coaching and what you can do to prepare yourself if you're considering law school as a grown-up. You can also schedule a consult with me anywhere in America, SimoneRedwine.com, or get my ebook, Background Checks 101, for $19.99. Y'all have a great one. You can come back, see me at 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, for a quick Diddy breakdown of the jury selection. They're going to be back on Monday, but I'm going to break down what happened this week. Bye, y'all. Talk to you later. Your legal bestie. Bye.